Hello, everyone, and welcome to another E3 recap for 2019. This time, we're going to be talking about the Square Enix conference and just kind of doing a bit of a deep dive into some of the different announcements they had, talking about the conference and how I felt about it overall. This time, it's just me, Mike. No Cody for this one either. Once again, still out for today. But yeah, we're going to do a quick deep dive just into some of the stuff they announced. Before I get into that, I just kind of want to talk about how I felt about the conference overall. As someone who's a fan of a lot of Final Fantasy games and just Square Enix franchises as a whole, I thought that this conference follows a suit of a lot of other conferences this year in that it's hit or miss. You get a weird mix of stuff that you like, that's upcoming that maybe hasn't had a trailer in a while, stuff you didn't expect, but you also mixed in had trailers for games that, well, you already knew about, some of which that are almost out or they didn't really reveal any new information for. So it was kind of weird to see some games pop up either a second time or honestly games that just didn't really need to pop up at all. But let's take that and just get right into it. The conference started awesomely. It started with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. They replayed the intro of the game itself, totally redone in the new engine, and it looks beautiful. And the game itself, they showed gameplay. It looks like it plays beautifully as well. So while it's more of an action RPG this time around, you have new mechanic, or you have some sort of existing mechanics like the ATB, and for those that's active time battle system, and that's referring to these bars that you have underneath your health on your UI, and you can use one of those to use an item. You can essentially use the time of one of those to slow time and plan strategically for what you're going to do. But this game, first and foremost, is an action RPG, and it definitely showcases that action. And they showed the first boss fight from Final Fantasy VII, which is right after you blow up the reactor. And I gotta tell you, that game, they've really taken it to a modern cinematic level, and it just looks excellent. I'm really excited for it. They did finally show Tifa. People have been wondering for a while, what was going to happen with the design of Tifa, because she's appeared differently across different games and across the years. And I think a lot of people were just kind of hoping that she would look a lot like her original design and not too much like Advent Children or something like that. And I'm happy to share that they actually were really faithful to the original design for that character. And yeah, I'm just really excited for that game. It is split into parts. It is confirmed via the store page for the game. There are 3 different editions of the game right now available for pre-order. There's the standard, there's the deluxe, which comes with the steelbook case, and then there's a collector's edition that comes with an awesome looking statue of Cloud on the motorcycle that you'll recognize from the game, holding the Buster Sword, and a handful of other things, including that steelbook that's part of the deluxe edition. And yeah, the game, the first part of the game is just Midgar from the sounds of it, and it comes out March 3rd, 2020. Now, I'm really excited by the announcement of the game. I am conflicted. I wish that it wasn't separated into parts. It does sound like it may be separated into more than 2 parts, which is more than I expected, and honestly, that's a bit of a letdown. I hope that it's not. I do hope that they decide to split it into 2 parts, but I just don't think that that's feasible at this point if the first part is only Midgar. I could see it being 3 parts then at that point, but it really just depends what they omit, what they add to the game, stuff like that. So, but it definitely looks like the game is streamlined and like they're adding a lot of new content just to the Midgar section. So look forward to that coming soon. After that, they had a trailer for Life is Strange 2. It was just a quick trailer, kind of giving a story overview and featuring some different streamers and YouTubers, including Jacksepticeye and some others. And they didn't really reveal anything new for that game. It was just like, hey, don't forget Life is Strange 2 still exists. That game is still outcoming. We're still getting new episodes for that. I think the next episode is in September. We just had a new episode not that long ago for the game. So, they're really taking their time making these episodes. I hope that means that they're really, adding some polish to these final episodes for the game because there's only 2 left. So I really like that game actually. The story has been pretty captivating thus far, and I think it does a really good job telling, the story of these 2 brothers who are on the run and they're just trying to, figure out what they're gonna do. And so, yeah, no, I really love that game. I'm glad that it's getting more attention, and I'm glad that it'll finally, hopefully, come to an end by the end of this year. So after that quick trailer, they went into another Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles trailer. We've known that game is coming out for a while. I don't know that we knew that game was coming out in winter. I'm really excited for that. I personally remember that game from the GameCube days, so it'll be really interesting to play it. I'm definitely going to grab it on Nintendo Switch if I decide to play it, because that'll be something that I'll want to play with friends, and I just think the Switch is definitely the console that I have that lends the best to the multiplayer experience for that. So, yeah, looking forward to that one coming in the winter. They showed a new trailer for Octopath Traveler just to remind people that it's coming to PC or out on PC recently. But no, that game's coming to PC. They didn't announce anything new for Octopath Traveler today, though. Following that, they had a new trailer for The Last Remnant Remastered. Some of you may remember that game from the Xbox 360, and it's on Steam, and it's coming to Nintendo Switch, and it's available tonight, which is awesome. Some people really remember that game fondly. Others, kind of agree that it's a good RPG. So I think it's cool that they're putting that game out on another console and kind of reminding people, hey, The Last Remnant exists. So, hopefully that game turns out awesome. Following that, we had a new Dragon Quest Builders 2 gameplay trailer. That game comes out in July. We already knew that, and we know that the game, is going to shape up to be a pretty awesome successor to the first one. And honestly, I felt like the gameplay trailer for this was just a little too long. It went too in-depth with some of what's going on in that game as far as the story and new mechanics. And I think that game looks great. I could have done with like a minute-long trailer instead of like a 2+ long trailer. And then they kept the Dragon Quest love going. They showed a new trailer for Dragon Quest XI-S. That game is excellent. I played through the entire thing on PlayStation 4. I played through the post-story. And I just have to tell you, I feel like that game was really underappreciated last year. And I hope that it gets the appreciation and the admiration that it deserves on Nintendo Switch with new content added onto it that's, I believe, exclusive to the Switch version. No word on whether that's coming to the PlayStation version yet. But, yeah, that's coming. They didn't put a specific release on it still. It's just listed as fall. So hopefully they put a new release date on that soon. Maybe in the Nintendo Direct tomorrow. Although, honestly, I think this was, their way of just showing, like, hey, it's still coming. It's coming this year. It's coming probably sooner than you think, honestly. So they followed that up with a trailer for indie games through the Square Enix indie label that they have. They showed different games in 2017, 2018, 2019, and then they had some new announcements for 2020. In particular, one was a car, a racing type of game that looks like it involves a level of strategy that, like traditional racers don't necessarily include. So maybe check out the trailer for that, but I'll be honest, I felt like there wasn't really any reason to bring up this indie trailer other than to just be like, hey, this is a small game from Square Enix. And I don't know that really fits in this type of conference, but they found time for it because, this conference was over an hour long. So, I don't know. They showed the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC trailer, finally. The name of it is Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. They did technically show this trailer at the Kingdom Hearts Symphony the other night. I think it was verbatim the exact same trailer, and they announced that the new DLC is coming this winter. That's fine. Honestly, these Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers really don't do anything for me compared to the actual game itself. I love Kingdom Hearts 3. I really love how the game kind of wraps up the Xehanort saga and kind of hints towards what's coming next. I feel like this DLC doesn't really, at least this trailer doesn't really show us why this DLC needs to exist. But hopefully they give us more, and hopefully the next trailer has voice acting on it. But I guess we'll see. It's hard to say, but I hope that they have a new trailer out before the winter with the proper voice acting. After that, they went into Final Fantasy XIV. There was a new trailer for their Shadowbringer DLC. It's coming July 2nd. We already knew that, and the trailer they brought was a launch trailer, so presumably this is it before that comes out. I know people have a fondness for Final Fantasy XIV, and I have friends that are personally looking forward to the Shadowbringer expansion, and there seemed to be a lot of fervor in the crowd at the conference. As someone who's not a Final Fantasy XIV fan, but as someone who knows fans of this game, this is going to be a really big deal for them. It adds new races and new classes to the game. So I've been thinking about giving this game a shot. I am a Final Fantasy fan, and I think that they had enough to kind of entice newcomers, sort of like the Elder Scrolls Online had with their conference yesterday at Bethesda. So following Final Fantasy XIV, we had a new Dying Light 2 trailer. They played Metric music in the background. I love that band, so was thrilled, but didn't feel like we really needed to see more of Dying Light 2 after the Xbox conference yesterday. Kind of felt like we got enough from that. So I did make a note that spring is packed full of games. And adding Final Fantasy to that list, and Cyberpunk to that list, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. It's a big first half next year, and I think a lot of people are about to drop a lot of money on games early next year. But I think it's gonna be a really great year for games. We haven't really had a first half of a year like this since probably 2017, when Zelda Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Persona 5 and games like that came out. So it's exciting to see all these games coming out early 2020. I'm kind of hoping I have time to play them all, and I guess we'll see. After that Dying Light 2 trailer, we had a new trailer for some different classic RPG remasters that are finally coming to the West. There's Romancing Saga 3, which I seem to remember that game, but I might be thinking of a different series. But I do remember Romancing Saga, and then Saga Scarlet Grace, which looked cool. That was I think a PlayStation Portable game, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But it kind of looked like a PlayStation Portable game. So both look good. Love the music. Music was very classic RPG-esque. So I'm looking forward to that one. And honestly, yeah, I don't think there was a release date on that, but I'll probably check those out when they come out. So after that, we had a trailer for Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and this was literally just to announce that there's either new content or a new spin-off or something like that called War of the Visions. It looks like Final Fantasy Tactics, and I think that's really cool. I hope that it has a lot of the feel of Final Fantasy Tactics, and I don't know if I'll check that out. I'm not really into mobile games. I don't think that there was really anything in that trailer outside of the tactics style gameplay that really enticed me. It felt very Fire Emblem-esque in presentation. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it out. Maybe not. It just depends when that comes out. After that, we had a new IP announcement called Outriders. It's coming summer 2020, and they showed a cinematic trailer. A cinematic trailer. It didn't look to be an engine. It was pre-rendered CG. I'm sorry if you hear the dog barking, by the way. And it looks interesting. It looks like you're fighting like supernatural monsters, and you're playing a shooter. And they showed like a dev diary type of trailer afterwards, which showed different guns that you have, different enemies that you can encounter, and it made me think, is that game a looter shooter? I think it's interesting for Square Enix as a publisher to try to enter the looter shooter market like that with a new 3-player online multiplayer type game. If that's what they're going for, I wish them luck. I think that's a pretty crowded space, to be honest, but it could be cool. I liked the idea. I liked that cinematic trailer. So hopefully we see more. And I think that's playable on the show floor, they said, which is pretty crazy. So hopefully we hear more about that really soon. After that, we had a new trailer for the game Oninaki. Gonna be honest, that game just kind of looks like other games by that developer. It's the engine for My Name is Setsuna, or is that what that game is called? I Am Setsuna. Yeah, it's called I Am Setsuna. It's by the same developers as I Am Setsuna and that new game they just had, I want to say last year or the year prior. They had a new game not that long ago, but I know it's coming to the Switch. I don't think they put a release date on that still. After that, probably one of the biggest announcements of the conference. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest. A lot of people have been asking where a Final Fantasy VIII remaster has been, with Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, and Final Fantasy X being put on every system under the sun. The news for the longest time has been that the source code for that game is gone, and I believe that Final Fantasy VIII might be on PC, but it's not a very good port if I remember right. But this remaster looks totally fantastic. It looks like they have original assets, or maybe they remade original assets or something like that. But it looks excellent, and it's coming later this year to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. So I'm definitely going to pick that up. I just finished Final Fantasy VII on my Nintendo Switch, which means I'll probably pick up Final Fantasy VIII on my Nintendo Switch. But look forward to that later this year. And then, obviously, biggest news of the conference is Marvel's Avengers. They saved that for last, of course, because honestly, I don't think people would sit through all the Final Fantasy news they had prior to that outside of Final Fantasy VII. So, we had the new Marvel Avengers trailer. There was some brief in-engine footage, the whole thing is quote-unquote in-engine, but it's really just cutscenes outside of, there's one segment where you see camera behind Iron Man as he's flying out across the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. I hope you didn't hear that, but you probably did. But yeah, no. Honestly, I felt like the character models in this game look really weird. I don't know if it's that we're all just so accustomed to the Marvel Cinematic Universe look for these characters, but I really don't think it is that. I think it's more so that every superhero in that game looks like kind of weirdly jacked, and they also just kind of look like if you had a mannequin that vaguely resembles the Marvel Cinematic Universe characters, but you just kind of like beefed them up a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. It looks weird. The gameplay looks cool. At least the brief bit looks cool. The story looks awesome. It's following up the Avengers moving to the West Coast, a new resource being used to build that, and then it being exploited to decimate the city. And the bulk of the game follows up 5 years after what they call A-Day. And it's a co-op game that you can play single player, where you play as each of the Avengers, and you follow this story that apparently has to do with finding your place in this world, which is kind of interesting, especially for a superhero story. But I'm super into it. So far, they've shown Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, and Black Widow. And then in the follow-up trailer, they showed Hank Pym, Ant-Man. And they said that new heroes and new environments will be coming to the game post-launch. There will be a narrative spanning over multiple years, and that all of that content will be free. There will be no loot boxes or pay-to-win options or scenarios in the game. So hopefully that's true. With games that are games as a service nowadays, it's really hard to say whether that's actually going to come to fruition or not, because I think a lot of us remember the announcement of Anthem and Battlefield 5 and other games that have a large online component. And looking at how Call of Duty is now these days with the loot drops, especially like in Call of Duty World War II, how they washed up like on the shore and stuff like that or whatever. But yeah, no, there's loot drops in every game nowadays, and I just don't see there not being some sort of loot in this game. Whether it's cosmetic, they did say it's not pay to win, but I do think there will be cosmetic DLC. I think it's inevitable, but we shall see. There will be an early beta exclusively to PlayStation 4 and some other PlayStation 4 partnership that they haven't announced, but they said that they will reveal at a later date. And finally, the game is coming May 15th, 2020. So mark that on your calendars, because that is another first half of the year game, another spring 2020 game. And, I guess we're just going to see how everything kind of spaces out. Who knows if all of these spring games will really hit their dates, by the way. We're really starting to chart further out games than I think we're really accustomed to. And usually games, when they're charted this far out, they don't always hit the date. I mean, look at Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 got pushed back several times and finally hit in May, I want to say. But, only time will tell, and we will see. But, guys, that was the Square Enix conference. Overall, I would say it was fine. I didn't think that they had a ton of heavy hitters other than Final Fantasy VII and Marvel's Avengers, and Final Fantasy VIII Remaster, of course. But I felt like everything in between was kind of hit or miss. Be sure to let us know what you think in the comments, and keep following for more E3 coverage. Tomorrow we have Nintendo, and that's definitely going to be, the conference I'm most interested in. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Be sure to subscribe to continue watching more of the E3 content, and then click that bell notification to know whenever a new video goes live. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.